This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
So you've done there, Kosi.
Yes.
Well done. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, it just keeps freezing a little bit, so apologies if it does.
Guys, we are live on YouTube after Huddersfield Town's 5th defeat in a row in January. But this one proper hurts tonight. So Dryanuary, that's what I've called it, and it's continuing. But yeah, absolute nightmare, really. We'll bring back 2020. Not a lot of people are saying that, but Huddersfield Town fans are. You remember we ended the year in style. Naby Sarr, last minute, Blackburn, and yeah, 2021 disaster. But a lot of positives tonight, and here for some beautiful therapy in no particular order. We have Paul Quinn. Paul is, well, he used to manage Tadcaster Albion when he used to play football. Do you remember them?
distant memory now, yeah, distant memory.
Yeah. Big Town fan and enjoy the game tonight with us. Paul, welcome. Looking forward to hearing your views.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Iain Dunn, a man who also used to be working in non-league football until the Premier League, National League, North decided to end. Looks like the season, and
don't say that. Don't say that. 2 weeks we've been told. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. God, I know your Saturdays are back in Asda and farm foods, don't you, like myself? But
you're kidding? I can't even get into Asda.
Mate, click and collect.
We're online shopping.
Oh. Mate, it's as easy as getting a win at Bradford in your day, mate. This that click and collect. All you do, click, collect. It's like shelling peas, mate.
Put it on the head and put it back of the net.
Good to see you, mate.
Put them to bed.
Looking forward to talking about a lot of stuff about town. I want to speak as well about York City, because I think a lot of us saw that video that we put out last week, which for traditional football fans were quite a tearjerker, to be honest with you. I think we were all like a bit, but looking forward to talking that and discuss a bit of non-league chat and obviously town. Brady, you're back with us, mate. Again, another one, a deprived women's football expert. You can't even watch that now, Brady, so you're stuck like me watching Taffy versus Wesker on a Sunday afternoon, mate.
No, cheers for having us, Kosi. Phil, it's like, we've got manager Paul Quinn, we've got a former, town legend Iain Dunn, and it's like, Brady's here as well.
Yeah.
So,
we've got a topless podcaster as those who were there will never forget. But guys, on with the game. So another defeat. I think coming into the game, I don't think there'll be probably many town fans who were kind of tipping a win. I kind of did, but I suppose it may be a bit of blind faith in that as well. And one change from the last game that we played last week against Millwall, and Benza came back into it. But yeah, I suppose I've got so much written down, but it's so frustrating. I think you'd just rather get bad, wouldn't you, on that as well? And at 2-0, looking so minutes, but do we hit the bar post 4 times? And yeah, we were excellent. But Quinn, for you, is it just one of those when football ain't going for you like it ain't for town? That is just how it goes. It's just so frustrating in it tonight.
I feel sorry for the coaching staff, because watching that tonight, and it must have been so frustrating. I think I just looked at some stats. I think Town had something like 65% possession as an away team. It was just ridiculous, and it was attack after attack, and it was just 2 moments, wasn't it, first half, that, barring that, I think it was a really, really good performance. And how we've not got anything out of that game is just like, they must be sat on the coach tonight coming home thinking, what have we got to do to get something from a game? Because, the performance was really, really positive, really, really good. So many good aspects. It's just frustrating. It's so frustrating. And there's nothing, there's nothing they could have done about it from the sidelines. It was just, we just needed one there, like Campbell's chance towards the end where it's the outside the post. I think that just summed up the night, didn't it? But Lewis O'Brien's first half, and we've had so many good opportunities, but they've had 2 shots on goal and they've won 2-1, and that probably sums up the game, doesn't it? It's
incredible. When the last time you had, apart from maybe a non-league game when we played in a cup, 13 corners to nil. Just incredible. There's some ridiculous stats. You were saying before, what were that crosses one? Did we have 40-4 in the box or something?
40 crosses to 4 as an away side. Put 40 balls in the box, they put 4. I mean, I can't remember them going in our penalty area second half. I mean, they might have done once or twice, but I genuinely can't remember. Schofield's just, it could have been on a deck chair, couldn't he, smoking a cigar and having a cocktail and all lot, and he just didn't have to do anything second half. And maybe that's just the side of it at the moment, being clinical, but it was a good performance, wasn't it? You can't dispute that.
Don't you, when you're down on your luck as a footballer, when you're on a kind of string 4 defeats in a row, how do you kind of mentally come into games? Does it kind of play in your mind, or are you thinking, get me back on the pitch, I just want to put it right?
Yeah, no, I couldn't care less, to be honest. It was, no, I'm joking. Sorry. No, I mean, it's awful, isn't it? You don't, you train all week long, and if you're lucky enough to get in the team, and you keep losing, and it depends what your manager's like as well. I've played with some. Been lucky. I've had some good managers. I've had some bad ones. Some bad ones panic, and then panic sets in, and then the rest of the team suddenly panic. You watch the good managers. I'll be interested to see what happens. I've got a little affinity with Liverpool. I'll be interested to see what he does there, because that's the team that's down on the luck, pretty much like Huddersfield. And if your manager panics, the players will panic. It's as simple as that. So I think the manager's going to have to be strong here. Carry on believing and doing what he's doing is right, which it is, isn't it? I mean, I've seen a couple of the games recently. I didn't watch tonight. I've seen a couple of games recently. And you know what he's trying to achieve. You know what he's trying to do. And the players are buying into it. The more they buy into it, the more success they'll have. And I'm just looking at the stats myself. It's an astonishing, 64% possession, 26 shots, 4, 6 on target out of 26 shots, but still 4 more than they had on target. They had 2 on target and scored. So it's just one of them things. They've got to keep believing, got to keep working hard on the training ground. And when match day comes around, go out and carry out the manager's orders, and it'll turn. It's got to. It will turn. They carry on being consistently, with the football he's trying to play, and keep believing that it will turn. They've got too many good players for it not to.
Dunn, you said about managers panicking. Like, from your perspective as a player, what did that look like? What did a manager start doing that they weren't doing before?
You just knew when a manager was just on the wane. 2 or 3 defeats, and I've played in some teams that have had them spells.
Yeah.
And when you're coming into training, he's a bit down. Training suddenly becomes less about the technical side. It's right, we'll run you. I mean, I'm going back, in my day, 20, 25 years ago. If you're struggling, he ran you because he was punishing you. It was almost like, you're not doing it, lads, so I'm going to punish you. And you're just about, you're shot at that point. And then the manager's got a real problem because he's losing. As you'll know, if the manager loses his players, it's a long way back for him. And that's what he mustn't let happen at Huddersfield, at Corberan. He mustn't let that happen. He must keep his spirits up. He's got to believe in himself, hasn't he? And hopefully they'll turn it around.
So we started the game in bad style, really, and Naki Wells probably should have scored with that header early on. Poor miss, really, and that as well. And but then the first big talking point, and it was really strange because it were almost like carbon copy, I felt, of the Watford incident with Troy Deeney, the guy, bloody typical that he gets the both goals as well. What's it called? Juju, I forgot how you pronounce it there.
Juju.
Yeah, quite. I thought he should have gone. Maybe it wasn't as blatant for me as the Deeney thing, but again, in that Premier League, I think that's a red all day long. And I don't think we had the angles on iFollow that we did for the Deeney incident, but it looked, you kind of looked at the reaction. I mean, a lot of players try to get a lot of people sent off now, but as soon as it happened, I thought, he could be walking here. And I was very disappointed he only got the yellow. I just wonder, kind of, just because it's Bacuna, do you think that sometimes the referees, because they must know about his antics and stuff, but to me, it's irrelevant who it is. He was that, back in your day, that wouldn't have been a red, but in the modern day, 100%, I think that's a red card. Brady, did you think he should have walked, or do you think I'm a bit over the top?
I've got to be honest. Like you said, the player's reaction, I was like, "Oh, this looks bad," and you see it, and you're like, you could definitely see that as a red. I think the Deeney one seemed more of a red for me, just because it's late as well, and he's doing it to hurt him. Whereas I think you could probably argue the player in this game is trying to go for the ball, but yeah, I don't want to blame refs, but I think I don't know if it's just Town, but even the Championship in general, there's a challenge like that every week, and it's just so inconsistent. Like, players get sent off for it and then they don't. I think we've been a bit unlucky with decisions. And like you say, I mean, he scores both goals, and yeah, we'll talk about the defending for them, I'm sure, because it was pretty terrible. But yeah, it definitely could have been off for that, and that might have changed the game. But yeah, those, I'm sure we'll come on to the goals. But
your bench going up, big ass Town guy goes in on your guy Boxing Day for the game we're on. That happens. Your bench shut up, get him off, or are you kind of looking at maybe patronising commentary coming up from a non-league angle and just get on with it, lad? But I don't know. It doesn't surprise me he didn't get sent off, but definitely in Premier League and a bit of VAR action. I'm saying he's going there.
Yeah, probably. If you're looking at it, you think it's not sending off if it's one of my players, but if it's one of theirs, you want him off. It's probably one of them. I think it's like we're a bit of a typical centre forward challenge, wasn't it? A bit of a bad touch, and then he's sort of stretching for it. And for me, it's not a sending off. Like, if that's a sending off, well, it is a sending off in some incidents, isn't it? But that's where I think the game's struggles a little bit with some of them things. I think the referee was just common sense, and it wasn't a sending off for me, but that was on first view. But then again, you look at it when they start slowing it all down, and I think that magnifies what the challenge has actually been in the first place. It didn't seem out of control. It was just a bit of a late one, but you just might be soft, Kosi, in terms of what you interpret football. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a sending off for me.
Don't you when you watch a lot of football now and the game's changing? I think you get a lot of players. Oh God, I watch so much Spanish football where the players are like in people's refs' faces, like, he needs to go there, he needs to get off. And, there's imaginary cards. Did you ever get involved with incidents where you kind of maybe got in the refs here, you should go there, or maybe just want people to get sent off? Do you just do everything you can to try and get an advantage, or do you just look at it now in your compared to your day and think this is a bit over the top?
Yeah, I think it's crept in. I mean, when I was younger, the foreign element, you felt, the dive and the cheating, the play acting, that was there. But this going up to the referees and trying to get a fellow professional sent off, that, to me, I might be alone here. Has it crept in, or have I just woken up and it's there? I don't know. When we played, you didn't try and I don't think you tried to get your opponent sent off. You're more likely to try and stand on his feet. Not me, but, it's the players that would do that. They could be naughty with each other, and then they shake hands at the end of the day and get on with it. This getting into the referee's face, into the linesman's face, and really wanting your opposition to lose a man for not very much. Has it crept in? Quinn, you as a manager, what do you think? Is that some of this crept in, or has it been there all along?
Yeah, I think it's definitely part of the game now, and I think the problem is if you're playing against a side that are vocal and are in the referee's face and they're influencing the referee, then what do you do as a team? As a manager, I'm probably saying to the players, there's got to be an element of we've got to play them at their own game a little bit and try and influence the referee. Try and do it in a positive way, but I think you can come up against some sides that are really in the referee's face, in the linesman's ear, the technical areas at them all the time, and then it's sort of like you're in a bit of a catch-22. It might not be what you believe in, but what do you do? Just let it happen and let them influence the referee? Because unfortunately, they do get influenced. And probably even more so now with no crowds in, they can hear what the technical staff are saying, can't they? More than they would do with a crowd in. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you don't. It's not a nice part of the game, but you
it's horrible.
It is horrible. It is horrible.
But I think it's always existed. You've always tried to influence the referee. Everyone does. You walk past him and say, hey, come on, ref, next time, penalty. You try and get something, because that is a part of the game. But I think that he should be off. Where's your card? That's that's coming. It's coming gradually. Now it's almost accepted that that's going to happen, and I think that's a real slight on the game of football. I'm getting heavy here. I really do. I think trying to get an opponent sent off, fair enough. Try and get a game. Everyone tries to gain a little advantage, but nobody wants to see a.
I think we can learn a lot from rugby league in terms of the way the game's refereed and the discipline in rugby league and the way the players talk to referees. They don't get away with it, do they? And I don't think we've got a grip on that in the last 15, 20 years in the game. I think we've not really got a grip. We've had respect campaign and all this sort of stuff, but I don't think we've ever really got a grip on. Players probably less so surrounding the referees now. That's probably less than it was 5, 10 years ago, isn't it? But I think we can learn a lot from rugby. I think the way the referees are mic'd up and people can hear what they're saying, the way they're talking to the players, I think it's brilliant. I think that's probably the next step for us, I think, as a game. We've got to look at that side of it.
God, if they mic some of your players up, Quiddy, there'd be people doing time in Hamley, wouldn't there, if they had space in the jail? So moving on the game, and if you remember, Juju was the guy who turned the game at the John Smiths earlier on in the season when Bristol kind of turned it around, and Sod's Law with the incident that happened, he was the guy that scored the first goal, and I thought it was a really poor goal, to be honest with you, right down the middle. It seemed to be a bit of a strange one to me. At first I thought, is he offside? Kind of Keogh looked at the kind of other defenders as if to say, what has just happened here? And it was really disappointing once it kind of got through, and he finished it well. But I don't know, was it a breakdown communication? Because when I looked again, I thought there may be a bit of an argument for offside, but really poor goal, wasn't it, Brady? Just kind of straight down the middle, and poor. Good finish though from him.
Yeah, it kind of caught everyone off guard, didn't you? Like, you had to double check because it just, when it happened in real time, it just looked so easy. But again, it's kind of a nice little flick from Casey Palmer. But it's their striker. Yeah, I was talking to the Bristol fan for our preview pod, and apparently he's wanting to leave, or he's thinking of, he wants a bit more money, and there's kind of a standoff with the club. Well, he could, based on his performance tonight, I think they'd want to keep him. But bit of a defensive mix-up. I think what's so annoying about this performance is, like you say, like, you can't fault the second half, but we just give goals away so easily, and then we have to work so hard to get something from the game. So when you see stuff like that, like the first goal, you're just tearing your hair out because, I don't think any of us would be there and like, oh, that's fantastic play from Bristol. I think the finish was great. I know he dummied, tricked Schofield, but it's so annoying as a Town fan because it was just, we just give goals away. And like you say, I think you were saying, Kosi, can see the most goals in the league now.
Yeah, 37. We're quite far in front now, and that's on second goal. Quinny, pretty similar, to be honest, with Katie Palmer. Great bit of skill, probably on soccer aim, on it, showboating, although Aaron's might have something to say about that for our goal. But and Sart, he will beaten wrong side of him, on on that as well, and it really hurt us, didn't it? Like, we've started the game quite well after that Wells chance. We're 2 down after 26 minutes, and again, just down the middle. You'd rather see a decent cross coming in, someone, I don't know, get their head on it than what we conceded. And it looked a long way back then, didn't it? Poor second goal, won it again.
Yeah, it was. But I think one thing that was really positive was that the spirit we showed. I know we've talked, the Terrier spirit's been something that's been at the club, but I thought the way we responded, because we could have capitulated there. It could have been, it could have gone 3-4 quite quickly, but the response after that was fantastic. And I think like the goals were poor, but you look at, there was a little bit of skill and a little bit of decent play in the build up to the first goal. I think Semenyo's like come short for it, then he's let it run for the lad who scored, and it was a little bit of clever play in the build up, but it's just I was letting him run off it, and it was too easy. And then obviously Palmer's decent little ball inside for the second goal, but the soft goals, and barring that, you take those two pieces of play out of the equation, and it's just been all Huddersfield, hasn't it? It's been all Huddersfield all night. And is that something that we go back to and you say, well, that's where we need to strengthen, and we need somebody there that's going to get us 20 goals? And, we talk about the lad who's played up front for Bristol today, but apart from the 2 goals, what else did he do in the game? Not a lot, I don't think. But when he had his chance, he took them both, didn't he? That's
the best strikers do that, Quinn. I watch Luis Suarez every other week, mate. Luis Suarez contributes nothing to the game for like 88% of the time, 90%. He'll score, and that's what it's all about. And Lewis O'Brien, a bit of a strange one there. I must admit, I didn't thought he'd hit the post. I thought the keeper had kind of saved it on that as well. That was a really good save. Then kind of Sarr had a bit of an header, and then Vallejo, which was a bit of a weird one. He kind of an half volley. he kind of tipped down, then Hunt kind of headed it up against the post. Not sure if it going in, but again, 2 things against the woodwork where then it just kind of just not going for us, really.
What about Vallejo's strike second half?
Oh,
unbelievable.
What I said.
Unbelievable.
They were brilliant.
Oh.
But let's get down to the business now that pretty much everyone's coming on my feed saying about it. Striking, Huddersfield Town striking shambles, really, let's be honest. Danny Ward out again, calf. We might see him after Stoke. Let's have a read of some of these stats that I've written down, thanks to Poz here. Played 16% of our minutes so far, 394 minutes, 2,520. He's got a 3-year contract. The guy has always kind of had injury problems. He never kind of seems to be, to me, when we signed him, it's not just wise after the event, but he's not what we needed, I don't think. And just him not being out. And Fraser Campbell tonight, wow. Cost us points tonight, I thought. Awful that. For someone who's been around in the game, Quinn, is so long, Fraser Campbell's had big moves. He's never been prolific, but to me, his touch is poor, his finishing's poor, he gives poor free kicks away. Yeah, he grafts his balls off, but so what? We could come off the sofa and graft his balls off tonight in a township. It's awful. We're running with no strikers, are we? And it's embarrassing, really.
You're a fan of Campbell's then?
Every week.
Listening in.
Duddy, you couldn't even get a game back in your day, mate. Now you'd be like first name on sheet up front. We had, but like back in the day,
I think you're being a bit harsh. I think you're being a bit harsh, hanging him out to dry. I think you've
never been a fan, Quinny, but I'm sorry, but someone better than him tonight, and we walk away with some points there. For me,
yeah. I think it's that clinical side, isn't it? But are we asking a lot of him in the way we play in the system? So I suppose I think he's got a lot of good attributes, but at the end of the day, we need somebody, as we said earlier, that's just going to be clinical when they get the chances, and he's had enough chances tonight to score, hasn't he?
Would you have signed Danny Ward back?
Me?
Yeah.
The problem is what's out there, and everybody's done ill though. Like, you ask any manager or team, what do you want? And everybody says the same thing. They want a striker who's going to get 20, 25 goals, and they're hard to come by. They're like rocking our shit. They're hard to come by. And you've got to, sometimes you might have to fall looking. Who's to say one of the young kids can't step up? I know they're unproven, but they're hard to come by at any level. Every
team that's struggling, you could listen to every podcast, every fans. What do we need? We need a striker. We need someone who's going to score us 20 goals. There aren't enough of them out there. Like proper clinical ones that guarantee. I mean, no one can guarantee you goals, but there's not many out there. I mean, how many prolific strikers have Town thought they had in the last 4 or 5 seasons? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's a genuine question. Who's been the top scorer?
Well, Grant. Some people would argue Grant really wanted to strike, even though he got a lot of goals. He might like play him out on the right left, didn't he? But in the end of his time, and that's all. Mooney did really prolific.
Town spent a lot of money on strikers, haven't they?
Aki Wells for that night in the Bristol shirt, and really never really convinced, did he? And that as well. But don't you get mad, right? Because Huddersfield have considered the most goals in the division, but I'm kind of feeling the strikers have cost us chance to get points, but they'll say, well, hang on a minute, guys, you've let in 37 goals this year. We're worst defensive division. But do you sometimes think strikers get or do you think it's part of the game? I'm a striker, I need to score, and I've just got to take it on the chin. Or do you think sometimes they get an unfair criticism?
Oh, strikers?
Yeah. Or it's just...
the truth is, it's a team. It's a cliche, but it is a team game. And the bottom line is, teams that score the more goals will win the more games. I know that sounds crazily simple, but it's true. And if your defence are letting in goals and you haven't got a striker that's scoring them, there's only one outcome. And sometimes in games it comes down to a little bit of luck, scoring the first goal, maybe getting a second to kill your opponent off. And you need that to progress in a game. But if you know that your defence is leaky, I think strikers do get a little bit edgy if they miss a chance or two, especially early on in the game. If the goals aren't going in, and you kind of know, listen, if I don't score here, the odds are we're gonna concede. Then it comes down to that confidence thing, that panicky thing, where you need the manager to step up and sort it out as a team. You've got to defend as a team, you attack as a team. You're taught that from a very young age. Everyone's in it together. but it does come down to that little bit of luck. And like Quinny says, everyone wants a striker that's going to score 20 goals a season. There aren't many of them out there. Whereas I think most managers will tell you the thing to start off with is a strong defence. If you've got a good keeper and a good defence, you've almost got there's your foundations. It's all cliches here, isn't it? But there's your foundations. You mustn't let goals in easily. Simple as that. And then you got to hope your strikers can carve a chance out, carve an opening out. When they're down on the luck, they get something goes in off the shoulder or something. Football. It's a simple game made really difficult by everybody else. It really is.
Yeah.
But it boils down to scoring more than you let in. And if Town aren't scoring, they mustn't let goals in. Start off with that.
I think the other thing as well is it's potentially the profile of the striker that we need without getting too deep, because we're not going to change the system. We're not going to change the way we play our way, which is good. It's good to see a philosophy, but then you look at the type of striker we might need at times, especially in the Championship, and you look at the route Leeds went down with Bamford and that type of striker. Again, that even makes it more difficult to recruit somebody that fits into that, doesn't it? So you look at the lad who's come off the bench tonight. Is it one of them where we give the young lads or a young lad an opportunity up there to get 15 Championship games under his belt before the end of the season? Because it's highly, highly unlikely that we're going to be dragged into relegation, touch wood, and it's probably highly unlikely that we're going to, or outside chance we're going to get in the playoffs. So is this an opportunity to give somebody like that and back somebody? Give an opportunity.
See what happens.
Sorry, Brady, but I'm just going to say, all I hear is Physicamma works hard. So what? He's a striker. We're not about working hard.
Who said that in the last 10 minutes? Let that go, Kosi. No one's mentioned it.
Funny, just before that, I was just going to say, we've been linked with Lukovic. Again, it could be a load of balls in the last couple of days. You're on about the type of striker. Honestly, there's a lot of time would hate him to come, but I've been seeing what we've seen tonight. That kind of striker. I mean, I don't know if it'd fit the Carlos bill, but it'd be something a little bit different. And I'd be more confident of him getting more goals than what we're getting at the moment. But that could just be
Who was that, Cos? I didn't hear that. Who was that?
Lukovic, but he played for us in a loan spell, didn't he? We're pretty poor, to be honest with you. He's hated amongst a lot of Town fans, but Birmingham City, I don't think he's getting in much with the kind of the Spanish guy in charge. So I think we might want to come to another one. But I just wonder whether we will do a bit of business, or like you said, Quinny, whether it'll go Kianara and whether we'll do that. But I just think we've got to try and do something a little bit different. Brady, where do you stand? Is it defence, attack, or both? Where's your eye?
Well, I want to Campbell didn't have a good game tonight. I think we can all admit that. But I think you're a bit harsh going in on Ward, because I know he's been injury prone, but he was relatively all right at Cardiff. And he was meant to be our first choice striker, and he's not really been able to put a run of games together. Again, is that just him being injury prone? Is it Carlos's intense training? Yeah, it's a combination, but I don't think you can write him off yet. But also, I'd add to that, Campbell wasn't expected to be first choice, and he's literally having to play every game. So I think that's what, I get what you're saying, he works hard, but he's never been prolific. But again, I think it's like, if Ward's in, Campbell wouldn't be playing every single game if Ward was fit. So it's kind of both. And I suppose, Quinny makes a good point, do you give Kieran Phillips a go? But I don't know, like I said, Campbell didn't play, should have scored one of them. But they're all kind of half chances and whipped in. And I do think, if he's not running himself into the ground every game and he can rotate with Ward, I think we might, he might get on the end of one of them. But I do think, going back to what Dunny said in the cliche, defence, we concede the most goals in the league. We just give the goals away so easily, and that's what costs you points. The second half was fantastic. We did everything but get the equaliser. But it doesn't matter if we concede in, shipping goals left, right, and centre. And I think that's the problem. Like you said, build strong.
I think you're probably right, Brady. I think I'm just being a bit frustrated just because of the game. And
you hate him, man.
You can't really.
Hate Campbell so much.
There's no point getting mad on someone who. If someone's never been prolific, I suppose I'm arguing against myself here. But if someone's never been prolific, they're hardly going to change them. I suppose my argument is maybe with the powers that be.
He works hard though, Kosi. He works hard.
But he's never been prolific. Ward's always been injury prone. He'll never give you many games in the season. So I suppose for me to be shouting that he's not playing, like I said, if minutes on the pitch and playing. But anyway, let's get to people who know that they're on about it. Some comments. So Damien Wales, tonight's game shows what happens when you don't have a proper number 9 up top. Mounier scores that Campbell chance. Maybe unpopular opinion, but not a fan of Vallejo. Disappointing, but we move on. Pete Swallow conceding goals after poor defending and failing to convert good chances into goals will send us into free fall in the table. Ponty Terrier, we need to sign a striker. Pete Collins, great second half performance especially. The goals will come. Bristol are garbage, but we've got 6 points of us. But Pete, I wasn't impressed with him neither. James Baird, there's no way we'll pay the money for the kind of striker required in the team. They need to be able to do so many things well and quickly. HTFC, good performance after gifting them 2 goals. Most goals conceded in the championship and toothless up top. I nearly said that without any teeth there. A bit like when Noel Blake had headbutted you, don't he? You know, when your teeth falling out, mate.
Yeah, still missing that one.
Pozza, problems of scoring goals was mentioned before the ball was kicked. And it's been proven that even with our 5 strikers, I think there's irony there, he's letting us down badly this season. Andy Shoot for Paul. Question for you, Paul, yeah? And a couple of town fans who live near Tad. Frequent Tadcaster Albion from time to time, and it's a fab venue. Nothing to do with being surrounded by 3 breweries that have shed loads of pubs. Remember them days when we could go in a pub? Don't you? Do you remember that? Well, last time you were on, I think you were drinking outside.
Tour of York, yeah, with me Coca-Cola in hand, of course.
Just a cheap GoPro, wasn't it? Don't it?
It's not that. We can sort another one of them out. Love a walk and a beer.
Nail on the head there. Works his ass off, but doesn't put points on the board. Goals do. I would give Phillips a go. HTFC. Telling me like, do you see any chance for Ward? Wouldn't be shocked if his training is reduced like we did with Vaughan in the past. Does Fraser Campbell work hard? Kosi, well, I don't know. But yeah, it's so frustrating, Paul. And I just think, second half, we couldn't have done any more, really. I mean, that keeper's save, like you mentioned earlier, from Vallejo were pretty outstanding, really, and as well. And let's talk about our goal, because that was class, wasn't it? I really loved what we did there. Rolando Arons, he's giving us little glimpses, isn't he? Only little bits, but he's got that arrogant swagger, hasn't he, of a guy who, to me, could be... So you could see why he kind of ripped up at Newcastle that early part of his career, but I'm liking what I've seen. His goal, I mean, obviously Bakuna's tapping, but fantastic goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, good move. I think I thought Bakuna was poor first half. I thought it was very, very quiet, and then I thought he sprung to life second half. I was really impressed with him second half, and right place, right time. But yeah, great bit of skill from him. And I think it's one of them. I listened to Stearman's interview pre-match, and he was just saying about obviously coming to the side and a new player, and you always get the same cliches that it's going to take time to settle in, but I think with the way that Town play and the way that Carlos sets the team up, I think it genuinely will take a lot of players a bit more time to get used to probably the physical demands of it, because obviously that's well reported in terms of what's required, but the way they play as well. So I think as time goes on, I think he'll get stronger and stronger. And as you said, saw glimpses of it tonight. And he's got something about him, hasn't he? 1v1, he looks like he's going to go past somebody. When he's got Toffolo bombing on alongside him as well, look a real threat. So, it was really, really nice bit of play. And it probably wasn't the only bit either. It just fortunate enough that one got finished off. And there were numerous other occasions, weren't there, where there were really good build-up. We just didn't take the opportunity. But you come away from that as a Town fan, and you think, I know we all hate losing, and you're pissed off when you lose and stuff. But you can't. Nobody can come away from that thinking we haven't played well or we haven't put in a good performance. It was, it was good to watch, barring the result, wasn't it? It was.
Wow. Quinny, there was a question for you, actually. I'm going to say it. When Andy Shute were on about Tadcaster pubs, I thought, there's no question here, but I hadn't read it, but I'm a bit blind tonight. So the question is, Andy, what's the latest on the new ground? Can you share anything? Tadcaster Albion.
Well, it's difficult. I think they've got funds in place to build a new facility, but it's all dependent on what happens with the season. I mean, if our season gets completely sacked off at this point, I think they'll start putting shovels in the ground and get on with it. But they can't do anything really until we know about the season. So we're gonna have a brand new facility, new clubhouse, new stand opposite the river. It's all going to be raised and flood proof, because as probably people know, our ground's notorious for getting flooded at this time of year. So which is never going to stop. But they just need to flood proof the main facilities really, which is like the changing facilities. And so they've got funds in place, but it's just a question of when rather than if. So yeah, it's exciting times. We're moving in the right direction, and it's been good. It's just frustrating. Just at our level, obviously, same with York now. York are falling into that category. We've been suspended for a couple of weeks. it's just stop-start all the time, and it's just so frustrating for us as like managers and players, and a lot of the lads as well.
How are you finding it, trying to keep the lads motivated, keep them? What do you do? Do you phone them? How do you keep in touch with them? And I'm just interested because York have exactly the same problem, and I know they're full time, but they can't meet up. I don't think they can train.
It's hard, mate. It's hard, and without going into too much details, a couple of our players have been struggling, like mentally as well. Because they're not on massive. A lot of ours aren't on massive money. They're not on the money that some of the other clubs are, but they're trying to make their way back up the pyramid. We've got lads who've come out of the pro game that are trying to get back in it and trying to get some exposure, and they live for football, and like I do, I live and breathe it. So we're trying to keep in touch. And like the last lockdown we had October, we did a lot of stuff online, a lot of Zoom sessions. We did a lot of watching footage and that type of thing, sort of 3 times a week. But it's a bit different now because we've got nothing to work towards, done it more. We don't know when we're going to be back. So, we can be doing 3 times a week online and things, but when you've got nothing to work towards, it's a bit more of a challenge. So, it's difficult, mate. It's really, really difficult. But, what can you do? It's just a bonkers situation, isn't it?
We'll talk a little bit about kind of non-league situation later on. I'll just kind of finish with the town thing. So, Brady, I kind of saw a couple of people saying earlier, I'm on a couple of WhatsApp groups saying you stopped Pippa and Toffolo, stopped town, but I didn't think that tonight. I thought there were a lot more going on than just the fullbacks. I was kind of encouraged by that because I have kind of thought, Carlos maybe being found out with the way we play, but there were a lot of variety. And at the end, there were so many players bombing forward. It were carnage, really. I was thinking, how would you even try and tackle that as an opposition manager? But I was very heartened, even though we've lost and kind of not bring on Stoke, but I'm looking forward to Saturday more. But to be honest, I didn't expect much tonight, but we didn't get anything, but we got a lot more in the way in performance.
No, definitely. I think, I've got to be honest. When it was 2-0 at half time, I was worried because given we just can't seem to buy a win. But again, I'm sure most town fans agree. You see that second half performance, and you're like I say, the only thing we didn't do right was put the ball back in the net for the second goal for the equaliser. I mean, that you can tell because as soon as the full-time whistle went, you could see Bristol players were just relieved because they know they got away with it. And it is encouraging. Like you say, Stoke are a difficult side, but it's home. We tend to do better at home, and you feel a lot more positive for it. I think it's just, we could just do with a win. Just obviously, I don't. We've talked about it before. I don't think we're going to do a hole and sink like a stone, but it just be nice to get a win sooner rather than later, just so it kind of eases, calms the pressure down a little bit. And
I've heard a few people saying the whole thing, but I think it's an easy thing to throw out as that as well. But I think the big thing I mentioned the other week, they sold their 2 best players, didn't they? So I don't think that helps, as we know when Marcus Stewart disappeared. So moving on, it's hardly a surprise because we talked about it last week, but Dwayne Holmes is back in Huddersfield's shirt. Now, I put a little poll out this morning on Twitter, Paul, and to be fair, I was quite surprised with this because I'm in a bit of a meh camp on his re-arrival. 69% are really pleased that he's back. 31% are a bit kind of meh on it on that as well. And Quinn, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because to me, if he's going to be, he can't do any worse than Alex Pritchard, who's been a disaster, hasn't he, really? But if he's going to play as the kind of the playmaker, there's a lot of pressure on him now. He's not kind of, obviously before there were low expectations kind of come through the ranks and stuff, and anything we got out of him was a bonus. He's come back in, obviously going to be a better player. It's a big ask for him. Are you pleased to see him back?
I think so. I think it could be a good sign. I think it's fresh impetus in that area. And as you've said there, he's coming back a lot more experienced, isn't he? I don't know how many he'll have played now, but I bet he's played over 150 games now. So he'll be coming back a lot more experienced than he was in his first visit. So, I think, proof will be in the pudding, but they'll assign him for a reason. And I think, you can't, it's difficult, like outside looking in, there'll be a rationale behind it as well. And you've got to trust, and I do think we are heading in the right direction on and off the pitch as a club. I think there's some good things that are happening. I think we've got a clear philosophy, and you've got to back people that are representing your club, aren't you? And I think they'll have done it for the right reason. He's got to come in and do the business, haven't they? And there's no reason why next season we can't be right up there trying to get back into the Premier League. I think this year is all about that identity and getting that together with the new manager, and then next season let's have a crack at it. But I certainly hope he does come in and do well. And every player that's outside, I sort of like, maybe I'm just looking at rose-tinted glasses, or I'm hoping to come in and make an impact.
I'm with you, mate. I've seen a lot of people kind of saying, I've been kind of fighting a few on Twitter tonight saying, we should stay up and this, that, and that. I'm just thinking, what can we do to kind of have that crack at that top six? My head's not about going down at all. It's almost like, I think we're probably good enough. We're not that far away from having a crack at the six, and, maybe not with the worst defence in the championship, but it just needs a little bit of tweaking, and I don't think it will be kind of far away on that as well. Brady, Dwayne Holmes, does he excite you, mate, on his return? And the thing that you'll always say with him is bags of energy, bags of enthusiasm. His interviews that he gave the other day, they were like a kid, wasn't it? I just got a scholarship or something at club. That's the kind of what Carlos wants, doesn't it? Players with energy, enthusiasm, and positive players. And I think Dwayne Holmes fits that bill, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good signing, especially with Iain being out for the season. Quinn touched on it there. Like, he's got experience. He's played in the Championship, for a couple of seasons now. And I think, again, we've got an article coming out about him tomorrow. I spoke to a couple of Derby fans. But
exclusive. Can you give us an exclusive?
Well, they were just... So, basically, the reason... Obviously, Derby are in a lot of trouble at the moment, but the reason he kind of fell out was he can play in lots of different positions, and he kept getting put out wide on the right, and he wants to play in the centre mid because that's where he thinks he's best. Now, if you look at that from a tactical perspective, sorry, it's really boring, but that's the area we need. We need an extra midfielder to give us a bit of energy, and I think I want it to work because he's a nice guy, and I think it is good to have a player who's from the local area, knows some of the lads. Like, he talked about how he knows Hoggy, and how Hoggy's improved his game because of Corbran. So I think that helps, like, having someone who actually knows the club well and cares about it. But also, I think it's interesting with all the signings for me so far in this window, because they all have a point to prove. You look at Aaron's, great player, but had loads of injuries, has a point to prove. Keogh, can he still cut it in the Championship after that injury? Got a point to prove. Same with Danny Grant, same with sort of Thomas, two up and young players. And I think it's the same with Holmes. Like, he's had a couple of injuries, but he's not played in his favourite position. But he will get that at Town. And I think he can work well. We were chatting on the preview pod, and David Hartrick made the good point. An on-form Hogg, O'Brien and Dwayne Holmes as a midfield is a good Championship midfield. And yeah, I think, I wish well for the lad. Weird that he picked the number 9 shirt. But I think it could work out well. It's just, again, I think the doubts are his injury record. He keeps getting lots of niggly injuries. And again, as a midfield as a whole, that's quite a small midfield. But again, it doesn't really matter for Carlos's style.
Johnny, you're a perfect man to ask, really, because points to prove God, kind of from non-league to league to Huddersfield Town and stuff. Obviously, his story's been well documented. But when you're hungry to prove people wrong, because Wayne Rooney, I think, he didn't mention him by name, but there were a few disparaging quotes like, we need to get people out who aren't committed. He might as well have mentioned him, in my opinion. So he's kind of, how much is it, when you kind of maybe come into a club and you really, want to kind of prove and everything, and that's on, you want to be there, you kind of know the club from before. What will that do, kind of with the energy-wise and things?
Anyone that's a footballer, when you go to your new club, unless you're a bit of a tool, when you go to your new, it's true, isn't it? You get them, but most players, when they get to the new club, they want to impress. First of all, they've got to settle in. He's got an advantage in that he knows the club inside out already, and he's got a couple, like I mentioned, Hoggy there. He'll know a few of them, but he'll still want to impress them all. He want to get into training. He's gone away. He's gained a whole load of experience elsewhere. He's moved for quite a bit of money. He should have a bit about him. He should bring a bit about him, to the team. Bit of confidence, hopefully. I know he's not had the greatest of times at Derby recently, but he'll come in. I think he'll come. I think it's got to be. I think it's a decent signing. He did all right for Town. He's gone away and done not too bad, but he probably thinks he could do better. And they're the kind of players you want. Hopefully, he's that player that he wants to come in and prove that he has improved since Town fans last saw him, and hopefully he's thinking that he's better placed at Huddersfield Town for a bit of success than lingering with Derby. If you don't want to play wide right or whatever, fair enough. At least he's made that decision. See what?
At least he'll get his wages paid on time, won't he?
Well, yeah, and then there's that. Yeah, that's the real reason. But no, it's true. He'll want to come in. He'll want to impress, and you know, and this is the thing when you sign a new player. Quinny probably a better place than me to say it. When you sign a new player, you hope you get a little bit of bounce off him, and what you want is him to come in and hit the ground running, and hopefully the rest of the players look up and get a bit off him as well. That's why you bring new players in. You're trying to improve your squad, improve your team, especially when things aren't quite going to plan and you think you need a bit of reinforcement. Hopefully he comes in with a bit of confidence, training starts getting lively, gets in the team and hopefully has a good little spell with Huddersfield Town again. So,
Quinny, do you agree with that? Just kind of, you know, obviously you brought a lot of players in your time and stuff. What do you look for, you know, when instant impact, or is it a little bit kind of different at your level maybe than, because Dwayne Holmes has got it down running really for me.
Yeah, I think as Dunn has alluded to, you need to know what a player's coming for, and I don't mean just the money side of it. What's their motivation to come to Huddersfield Town, or, you know, in my instance, come to our club? And, you know, think of a lad we signed in the summer, Bailey Thompson. We signed him from Tranmere, and the remit with him was he wanted to come to us, prove himself at senior level, score some goals and get himself a move. And that was why he came. And we both got off on the right footing with that. We knew what he wanted. We told him exactly what we needed from him. He was happy with that. So we had like a mutual agreement right from day one. There were no sort of, you know, ambiguity in terms of what, or being unclear in terms of what was happening. And he come in, done well, and got himself a move. And I think you just need to make sure that the players are there for the right reasons. And of course, money is going to be important. Like, that's what makes the world go round. You've got to make that happen for people, and you've got to be competitive for the league you're in. But you need people coming that genuinely want to come to the club, genuinely want to do well for themselves for whatever reason. And you look at the motivation of Keogh coming in. You know, he's probably wanting to prove a point coming towards back in his career, gone down to League One. He's good enough to play in Championship. He's thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to come in and influence a club. You look at Dwayne Holmes, you're thinking, right, I've been on the periphery a bit at Derby. I want to reignite my career here. And I would imagine Town have had those conversations with him. Come here, get yourself back on the map, you know, get yourself playing regular again in position you want to do. And I think if you know that person, you know, whatever business you're in, not whether it's football or not, I think if you know what that person's after and what motivates and what's going to drive them, I think you've got a chance of being successful, haven't you? And whatever level you're at, I think that's important, that sort of relationship. And I don't know, Dave, from your experience as a player, like in terms of that.
It's interesting what you said there, Quinny, about the lad you've signed, and he's been honest with you, hasn't he? And you know that, you know, with all due respect, if it's a young lad, they want to come on and go on and do better. But the beauty of that is, if you know that's what he wants and that's what's motivating him, and he's going to try his absolute nuts off to get what he wants, you're going to benefit as well, aren't you?
100%.
It's a simple concept. So if Dwayne Holmes has got designs on playing at a higher level, if it's not for Town, then if he's that kind of motivated player that thinks he can, then if he puts the hard yards in and he gets his move, then everyone's happy. You know, Town might have had a good year or two out of him. He's only, was he 26?
Yeah. Somebody who epitomises that for me at the moment is Lewis O'Brien. Like, the way he plays for Town and the way they've got him playing and the energy he brings to the team. He's playing as if every single minute and every single game his life depends on it, because he's been given a great opportunity, hasn't he? It was Bradford, then comes into Huddersfield, gets a couple of starts, and then all of a sudden he's playing a pivotal role in the team. Yeah. His career could go through the roof, couldn't it? You know, that's for me.
Hopefully at Town, you always hope it's going to be at your club, don't you? But all I'm saying is that the point is when a player comes in and he's motivated and thinks he can do better.
Yeah.
But everyone's different. That you said there, Keogh got dumped, really. I don't know the full story about that with the car and all that a couple of years ago. But he was clearly dumped by Derby. He's gone away. He's resurrected his career. He probably knows he can play at a higher level. His motivation might be different. He might be thinking he wants to prove that he can be a good Championship player and maybe even get Huddersfield Town back up into the top league. He's 30. Well, he was 33. He's probably not thinking, I'll do well at Town for 2 years, then sign for Liverpool. That ain't going to happen. But his motivations will be different from a younger lad. But it's what you want as a manager. Everyone's going to have a different motivation. But as long as they're all going in the positive direction and they're not just coming for the money, then the club's going to benefit one way or the other.
Yeah. Interesting times. We wish him well. And I don't think it'd be long till he kind of gets a start. I think what was saying, I don't think he'd train much or something that he want to kind of involve tonight, but wouldn't surprise me at all to see involved on Saturday. And Sorba Thomas, another guy who were on the bench tonight. I think there were rumours he were going to go straight to Harrogate, but I don't think that's kind of happened and that as well. But obviously he's bet his tea room shut. Probably they can't even get there now and that as well. But no, interesting stuff. So we kind of just discussed a little bit earlier on about obviously non-league kind of season coming to an all. But I just want to mention first York City, Dunny, because Booth and Crescent for town fans, I think it'll always hold some amazing memories. Obviously, we can never forget the one where the firework incident, and you've mentioned this a few times, but I don't know what it is with that ground. It's beautiful. It's a brilliant city, obviously, anyway, to have a drink, and the away end. I know it had seen better days, the ground, but legendary. And obviously, we had that amazing win under Jacko a few years later in the season that we got promoted. And I don't know if anyone's seen it. I think hopefully a lot of people have, but it was an amazing video done, and I think it went on for about 3 minutes and a bit of aerial shots, and they interviewed some of kind of the dyed-in-the-wool York City people, and anyone who was obviously were part of the this when Leeds Road finished could really resonate. And it was really sad. And I think what's more sadder, Dunny, is like it's just the way it's kind of gone, because obviously no fans, a bit like Brentford, they've said goodbye to something that they can never kind of see again. It's been a bit of a mishmash and it moving to the new stadium, but I just think a football ground it's like some of the people saying the video, it's their lives, it's where they kind of meet people, it's their release, and it's just a sad way for it to go, Bootham Crescent, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was a real good video. There's a lad called, the young lad actually, the media guy at York City called Dan Simonite, and he'd been working on it for a year, because I think he's seen this coming, and I think that the reality of the ground going, I think everyone thought, new ground is going to be brilliant. And for maybe a couple of years ago, no one actually thought about the fan who had that, what you've just said. It's Bootham Crescent. It's like a second home to football fans. It just is. People have grown up there. They've met, like you say, they've met lifelong friends just going to Bootham Crescent. And it's the same for town. It's the same with Leeds Road. So, but talking about Bootham Crescent, it is an old ground. It's seen some highs, it's seen some terrible lows. We had one of my mates died on the pitch there, David Longhurst. The stand was called the David Longhurst stand. It was horrible. But they've also had some massive highs at City. And York City, they never got designs on getting into the Premier League, but they were always a very, very solid, old English third and fourth division side who got into the second division in the 70s, which is now the Championship. They had a spell there. So it holds a lot of history. And that video just encapsulated everything for me. It was really good, really well put. And the people that he spoke to were ideal, The
one thing that amazed me, Dunn, is when it went to kind of the function room, because we're all used to these amazing kind of function suites. And
you don't know where you live in.
Tea room or something, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, that were like function room, man.
As you know, I've been doing a little bit of commentary work for the Beep, and mainly for Radio York. So doing a lot of the York City games, and so you've got your Bootham Crescents and all that. And then, of course, I was lucky enough to get to do a Huddersfield game, which was dropping the bomb. It was Old Trafford. I got invited to do the Man United Huddersfield game on Boxing Day a couple of years ago. And from me personally, so I've gone from Quinny will tell you, I've gone from you wouldn't expect this in where York City are at the moment. It's just unfortunate. But I've gone from some right holes to Old Trafford in 4 days. I mean, I did Old Trafford on Boxing Day. On the 29th, I was at Blythe Spartans. I mean, you talk about corporate entertainment and looking at, it's a world away. But Bootham Crescent, it holds a lot of memories, good and bad. But to be really honest, it's that video. It's done its justice. It's done its bit, but it's done its time now, because it really has. It's been going for 10 years. It should have been out 5 years ago. That's the brutal truth. I won't go into everything why it hasn't happened, but it hasn't. And it's almost atypical that when they do finally get to move, there's no flipping fans can go and watch it. Now there's not even any football to play on it. So it's a perfect storm of almost disaster for City, really. They're a full-time team, they're paying full-time wages, desperate to get out of the league they're in, and no fans and now no football. I'm sure there'll be a few worried faces, worried people at the club at the moment. I am, when looking, the little bits of snippets I hear, and you think,
why is it stopped, Dunny, when you were playing? And is it just because the COVID's got really bad? Or is there some funding? Am I right in saying that the funding's kind of stopped now or something? What is the reason why it's stopped for 2 weeks?
Again, don't take this as gospel, but money came in, didn't it, from the AFL or the government? So all the clubs got a share of the money to try and maintain their livelihoods, the wages, the running of the club. And at the time, they weren't told that if it happened again, so i.e. the third lockdown, the money, obviously they haven't had conversations. No one's been clever enough to look into the future and think this could happen again, which it has. And they've, again, don't quote me, but I believe that now if they get the money, it's a loan, so they've got to pay it back. So you're borrowing, you're talking clubs, York will struggle to do it, but you're talking other clubs that are literally, they're selling raffle tickets to pay their wages, that kind of thing. Yeah. And there's a lot of money flying, I say a lot of money. At this level, there's a lot of money flying around. You would be absolutely amazed what some of these lads are earning part-time. Not York City, York are full-time. That's another problem for City. The part-time players, with the jobs, are doing better than the full-time players financially. And it's a major issue for York because they want to maintain professional status. They want to maintain full-time status. How do you tell a lad that's maybe a financial advisor earning 60 grand, 80 grand a year and 500 quid a week for someone to come and play for York City full-time for even £1,000 a week? You'd have to have rocks in your head to do that. So York have got a lot of problems financially, and this really isn't helping. That's the negatives. The positive is the new ground is absolutely spanking. Once assuming they do get there and there's football to be played, it will put a lot of league clubs to shame. To be honest, it is really, they've done a really good job. But I'm ready for it, because I think going right back to the start of this conversation, Bootham Crescent was brilliant. It served the club well. It served the city well, but it was on its legs. It was done.
I think that's the thing, Dunny. No one's going to put in it. There's no point repairing something that you're moving out to. And like you said, it's been such a botched job getting out of there in the new stadium at Huntingdon. And it's just like, I think the only thing that I'm not on the geographics, but it's not really walkable, is it, from the city centre, or is it more of a bus? And that's what as a fan, these out of town ones are frustrating, really.
I'm not saying I knew where they were going to move it, but you see over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just over there.
So now we know where to move there.
Are you going to be doing commentary from your room, mate?
I did the other week. We did the other week. Don't joke. We did. We watched it on iFollow and commentated live on radio. Yeah. I'm just lucky, actually. Assuming they still want me to do it. I'm a mile down the road. It's absolutely perfect for me. But I'm being facetious. Really, it is. Yeah. Listen, the location isn't ideal because where Bootham Crescent was in the middle of the city. You could get to it from everywhere, basically. If you were at east side of York, it's dead. No parking, but easy to get to. Away fans, get off the train, 10-minute walk, you're at Bootham Crescent.
What a day, Dunny. What a day.
In exhibition, Bootham Tavern, I can see you a lot there in red and white stripes and City in the red. Oh, yeah, so new stadium isn't as easy to get to, but listen, that's football, isn't it? Lots of out of town grounds are like that, so I'll get used to it.
Quinny, how much are you missing football? When was the last time you played? And I do kind of feel a bit shortchanged at kind of your level at the pyramid. That there's been a bit of cash, like say, thrown at even like a National League North, but down after that, I kind of watch a bit of Scarborough and stuff, and they feel betrayed really a little bit, that they've just been forgotten about, and there's been crap leadership from the league and stuff like that as well, and it's so frustrating really. And there's players that maybe going on loan now to other teams just who are still playing, and it's a bit of a shambles really, isn't it? But I suppose it's COVID, isn't it? And it's a tough one, man.
Yeah, I'll probably keep my own views on COVID to myself, because I'm probably like everyone else, I'm just sick to back teeth of it now. It's just crazy, isn't it, the whole situation? And we have, like, from our perspective, going to what Dunny was saying about, we did get offered some money, but it was loans, and there's no way that clubs are going to put themselves in that financial difficulty with a loan. It's just not going to work. If it was a grant, then it's a different situation. And like with the National League clubs, they had grants to start with, and now there's this thing around it, now it's going to be loans, and clubs are going to be looking at that saying, well, we can't make that commitment. You're going to be putting clubs out of business if you're asking them to pay that sort of money back when they're running month to month anyway. It's just not going to work. So yeah, it's frustrating, mate. I mean, you have got to take a step back and perspective, and people losing their lives, and there's a lot more important things than football going on. But football is important to a lot of people, not just those that are playing. It's supporters. How much are people missing going to a ground and watching a game? And so for me, I think personally, that as long as they get the things right around the ground, I think you can do it safely, and it's limited risk with it being outside. And you look at the lads that are playing the game now at the pro level, and touch wood, there's not many of them being severely affected, i.e., on intensive care or. I'm not downplaying the virus at all, but we're working with a low risk group, and particularly what pisses me off more than anything, pardon my language, is the youth football when it got boshed off in the second lockdown. I just thought it was completely unnecessary that they let youth football go. Kids have got very little to do anyway at the moment. They're not at school. There's no reason for me why they can't be going and playing a 5v5, 7v7 on a Sunday morning with a few parents watching outside. I just think we're on dodgy ground with the long-term implications of not. I know we're talking about football, Huddersfield Town Championship, but we've got to remember as well grassroots, what football means to people that are playing it at grassroots as well. And
Quinn, do you think that there's a question coming in? It's a good one. Do you think elite sports should be exempt from lockdown? It's a controversial one, isn't it? And kind of money's talking, really, isn't it? Then obviously in the first lockdown there were no football and stuff when we were kind of getting to grips with COVID. But what's your view on that? And it's a bit of an odd one, and Big Sam had his say, didn't he? And a few others.
Yeah. But if there's no football now, what is there for everybody?
Exactly. And let's be brutally honest. I mean, football is the most watched sport. Yeah. People up and down the country, you almost need it, because you take that away. Take your match of the day away. Take your live football. Take your iFollow away. Take everything away. There's a gap anyway in people's lives. Take that away, and it's a vacuum. What are you going to do? I look forward to watching. I'll watch just about anything I can for free. I'm half Yorkshire, half Scottish. It's you're looking forward to. There's at least something to look forward to. But with Quinny as well, like grassroots football, the longer term implications of that. And I know, you can't downplay the COVID thing. It's an absolute. It's a proper disaster that we're all suffering from in one way or the other. But there's ways and means of trying at least to keep some sort of spirits up. But elite football, listen, if we can't keep grassroots football, at least keep the elite football. There's enough money in that game to sustain itself. They can do tests. But for me, this might be controversial because there's people dying in it. It isn't funny. It's absolutely, it is a crisis. But give the players what they need to keep performing, because it's an entertainment, and a lot of entertainment out of people's lives have gone. Look at the theatre. You can't go to that. It's indoor. It's you're risking it. You can't go to a football match, but you can watch it on TV. And these footballers, they get paid a fortune, and they're privileged people, but we rely on them. I slag them off when they're, some of them that you think they're not trying and they're not worth the millions they're getting paid, but I look forward to every weekend when there's a game on. I look forward to most nights when there's a game.
Do you think we'll see full stadiums ever again? As in, you talk about Bootham Crescent when they're packed behind the goal. Do you think we'll ever see that again?
Tell you what, Quinny, it gives me a lot of watching Australia and New Zealand sport, because they're not full. Some of the states are a bit hit and miss now, but that gives me a lot of art still watching that. That Big Bash this morning, the people in there, it almost feels a different world. It feels like, obviously it's another subject for another day, the borders locked and all this lot, but I think it could be still a long time away from that. I don't think people are daring to talk about how long away that is. You think it's going to happen because of the vaccine and that, but that rollout ain't going to, you've got to hit everyone. Everyone's got to have a vaccine. And that's a big ask. It's going to be a big challenge for the government to get that out there. And then you're thinking, is it a yearly thing? Do you have to do it yearly? And then what do you do? Does everyone have a certificate to say they've had the vaccine? Because you might be sat next to my father-in-law, who's 83, might be sat next to a 13-year-old kid who's
nobody knows the answer. There's too many questions to answer a question like that, because you want to see these stadiums full, but think back, just a year, it was tens of thousands of people cramped into one area. Yes, it's outdoor, but you got to get there and you got to get out, and you get in the gangways. And this virus breeds. I'm no doctor, or scientist, or expert, or anything, but it sounds like cough, spit, or whatever, or even shout now, and you can catch it. It's not just sitting down and watching the game, is it? It's getting in and out of the ground.
It's so true what you say there, Dunny, because people say to me, I don't feel like it's a lockdown like the first one, because this sport. I know it sounds a daft thing to say, but that's why, because they've got, as much as it's crap not being able to go, at least you've got that something to look forward to. As much as it frustrates us, like what's happened at the Town Night, you've got a game to come, or something to talk about like this. And
being grateful for small races, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels that way. There's something. You take that away. And I know lots of people are suffering that don't. People who watch this that don't like football. Well, why should they have it? But there's a lot of people watch football in this country. It's a football mad country. It's the main sport. You take that away, and the vacuum would be huge. And I think I'm managing quite well, but I've had football to look forward to and to watch, and that's my passion. But there's millions of me in Britain. We're all here. Everyone on this podcast.
You just wonder as well, don't you, if people are going to, or some people might fall out of the habit of going to a match as well, in terms of they go every Saturday and then they think, what?
Some people are going to have a genuine fear of going, because they'll be scared. Maybe the older generation will think twice about, do I really want to risk it? Because, the fear of God has been put into us all about this the way it can be, transmitted and that. So there'll be an element of people, right? Yeah. Stop going.
I'm looking forward to that day though, when a goal goes in and somebody runs towards the crowd, and it's just, you can't beat it, can you? Whether you're in the crowd, whether you've scored the goal, whether you're a manager, it's just it's not the same, is it, with an empty stadium?
That day when you stood behind the net and striker runs up and gives like that and switching your face.
Brady, have you got the last word on it, mate? What's your kind of view on what we've?
Oh no, I completely agree with these lads. Like, I think whenever I can go back in the John Smith, so I might cry. Like, I don't know when it's coming, but like, I was talking to my friend about it the other day. Like, I missed the guy behind me shouting crap for 90 minutes. I never thought I'd say that, but you just do. Like, and they hit the nail on the head. Like, obviously football's not for everyone, but it means so much to so many people, and like, especially with like Quinny's team and stuff like that, it means a lot to the communities as well. And I think it does make you appreciate how much we've missed. And obviously this sounds like we're ending it on a bit of a down note, but thinking positive, like you said, there's people in other countries, less said about our government, but there will be a time when we can all get back in, and I suppose that's what you just got to keep thinking. We don't know when, but we can get back in, and bloody hell, I can't wait for it.
I think the longer we see football on TV, the nearer it feels that you're going to get. You know what I mean? If it just stopped, I think we'd feel an awful lot further behind that day happening. But the fact they're keeping it going, and they'll work it out. Listen, let's be positive. It will turn. It will turn. And when it does, it'll be one hell of a. Nobody will take anything for granted. But it will turn. Just got to be a bit patient.
We'll come into yours, mate. We're going to have a good session in your house, and then we'll just nip across the road and watch. Yeah,
we can walk down. We can walk down with a tin. We can walk down with a tin of cars. How's that?
Guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's a bit of a late night session, and shame the result didn't go our way, but I think there's quite a lot of positives, and hopefully we'll get a result against Stoke and back on next week, smiling and dreaming again. So cheers.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while all upon the field of play. Thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.